you see that Joel is very much her just like dog on a leash who she can just like
Yeah.
send out like whenever she wants,
Yeah.
and he'll just fuck someone up.
Fuck some shit up.
And yeah, she is definitely very like hardcore, and I loved her character. She's so freaking great.
She really is.
I think what's the actress's name?
It was Anna Torv, I think, or
Yes.
something like that. Let me
She's
see.
just freaking,
Where are you
just
at?
I don't know, just absolutely fucking fantastic. Like
Yep,
I
Anna
don't know,
Torv.
I don't know what else to say. Like she does a great job. Obviously, I haven't gotten much of Tess like in the game,
Yeah.
but I mean, I would say they're different in the sense that like you just get more like of Tess, right? Like in the game, like yeah, you get that conversation of like, yeah, these guys jumped me, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Robert did this, Robert did that. We have to go and get him, shit like that. But immediately in the game, it just goes into like you just learning more about the game. So
Yeah.
it's not necessarily the game's not taking time out to create more story because it just did that. Now it has to get back into like the
Teach you
mechanics of
the
the
game,
game
yeah.
and just get you back into the game. Whereas here, like we have that first like the opening scene with, you know, Pedro Pascal, and you see him like the job that he has and just
Yeah.
like literally like dumping bodies or just like picking up whatever job he can
Yeah.
because he needs to like get more money. Like it just makes the situation like, I wouldn't say more realistic, but it just makes you realize like just the deep shit that they're in to
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, it's been 20 years.
They've all
There's-
had time to just adjust.
Yeah.
Like they just get fucking absolutely jaded by this fucking world.
Yeah, and you obviously have to be like some sort of hardened motherfucker to like, you know, just be like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna just toss bodies in the fire,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna go say like, yeah, I'll clean this fucking shit,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna go sell some drugs to this
Yeah,
to
it's
this
federal
federal
agent.
agent right
Yeah,
here, and
yeah.
then then we're gonna go about our day. I'm gonna
Yeah.
go drink and then take some pills because you know I've had
got 'em.
I've had a rough life and
Yeah.
shit like that, and I'm gonna go look for my brother.
Yeah.
You know.
Pretty good shit, man. Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think, if I'm not mistaken, in the game you technically spend more time with Tess, but in a video game, so much actual playtime, like hours of the experience, is playing through some kind of sequence or other. Like, not that I think Naughty Dog games in general, Uncharted also comes from them. Like, does a really good job of filling some of those gameplay moments with story, you know? Like in some games you'll like in GTA, right? It's like, okay, you got to drive from here to there. But like you just turn the radio on or whatever, right? But
Yeah.
in those story elements, they do a good job of it too. And like you can sometimes have conversations that like bring the more character relationships closer and shit like that. But anyways, tangent it off a little bit. Even though you spend more time with Tess in the game, I think she has more like character almost in the show.
Yeah, a lot of the times in the game, Tess is just kind of there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like she's your companion that, because the thing is about
Oh, you got to
Tess,
move this ladder, Joel.
Yeah.
And, you know, just teaching you
how
about,
to
like,
do
the game.
stuff. Yeah, because in the game, even though Tess like functions as her story like and character that she does, she in terms of the mechanics, she teaches you how you're gonna end up playing the rest of the game with Ellie, right? Once she becomes the companion that's running around with you fighting people and shit like that. So she's almost like a placeholder in that sense, in terms of the mechanics. And then, yeah, it's so crazy. It's a wild experience for sure to, like you said, pick and choose the right things, because it's like that's a game mechanic that you probably wouldn't have had a good time integrating into the show, right? Of like her just being that tutorial character.
Well, it's an also interesting thing that you have to think about, right, when you're in that sense and you're the person who created the game and now you're helping someone create the show, and you're like, all right, we have to cut out the parts where in the game we're just teaching you about the game mechanics and now we got to fill in story. Like, what story I can't talk. What story are we going to fit in right here?
Yeah.
And how is that going to feel like it's still like canon to like what we know and love like from the game, you know?
100%.
Because that's a lot of thing, like especially nowadays, like game nerds and shit like that. Like that's what we're so hard about, like, right, when
Yeah.
something is adapted to like a show or, you know, there's a sequel or something else is coming out about, you know, something that we really like. It's like, all right, how similar is it and how well is it going to like blend in with everything else that we already know? you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. It's crazy too, because like I think video games is like slightly different in my mind to the medium of movies in that when you watch a movie, it's like a passive experience, right? You sit and these events and these characters happen to you. Like you're watching, not that you're not invested, but you don't necessarily feel any kind of like driver's seat mentality. You know, you have no agency. Versus in a video game, even if you're on a set on rails story where you're going through all this shit, you become the character in a way because you're actually playing them, controlling them. You have to keep them alive throughout the fucking crazy zombie sequences and watch them go through all this bullshit and stuff. So it's definitely, I feel like almost has, I get it why a video game adaptation gets so much more heat for being like not close to the original source material, because there's like almost like a more personal attachment to like video game stories.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first episode just knocks it out of the park, bro.
100%.
From the moment it starts to the moment it ends, it's freaking just a crazy ride.
Yeah.
And I think Bella Ramsey, right, who plays freaking
Ellie?
Who plays Ellie? I loved her from the moment she's just like first on screen.
Yeah.
When they're just like, can you freaking count to 10, blah, blah, blah. And she's just like, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and then fuck you. And then like flips them off. And then she's like, she just keeps calling them motherfuckers. Like, I shouldn't be in here, motherfucker. Like, you're going to pay, motherfuckers.
Yeah, dude, she's
you know,
a little
like,
savage, dude.
That shit's great. You know, I loved it. And yeah, what took me by surprise in the first episode is that 20-year time skip. Because I didn't know that was coming. And so at the end, obviously when Sarah dies, you're just like, all right, now we're going to see how Joel just freaking deals with, you know, how life is going to become. And it's going to be almost like Walking Dead-esque, right?
Yeah.
We're going to see, you know, the progression of when shit hits the fan to how people react immediately after, you know?
Yeah.
But then it's like, no, 20 years later. And I was like, I literally was like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
like
fat
20
jump.
years?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit.
It's crazy, yeah, because like I feel like in stories like that, even something like 10 years feels hefty, right? But to do 2 whole fucking decades of like, this is just how the world is now. Like, there's no... I think it's like, it's beneficial in a way, right? Because you can just drop people in and be like, these are the rules. This is the world we need to tell the story that we want to between these 2 characters. Let's just get going.
Yeah.
It's nice. It's crazy.
It's fucking... Yeah, it's nuts. Honestly, the first episode, I rate that shit like a 9.8, bro. Like, that shit couldn't be... more literally the only like qualms I have with it is just like, you know, when that dog Mercy comes to like the door, and then Sarah's just like, yeah, let's take you home, but the dog obviously like is tripping the fuck out and has a big problem with trying to go home, and you're just like, yeah, let's go like look in the house. And then when you see the freaking the Mr. Adler or whatever with just freaking a chunk just taken out of his like his neck, and you're just like, yeah, let me go just freaking
check on him real quick.
Let me just go check on him.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, homie's dead.
Yeah.
Peace out. Some shit's going on. There's planes flying out.
Yeah.
There's freaking explosions going down.
I gotta find my dad and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, let's freaking get out of here. But nah, she freaking is just like, yeah, like just little things like that where I'm like, okay, why did we have to, why did we
go
do
there?
That? Yeah, why'd you do that?
I think for me, the first episode is a 10, mainly because... like I said when we first started talking about it, is that like this was already an opening sequence to me that was like god tier, iconic, good shit. And the fact that they were able to improve on it, like just sent it through the fucking roof for me, dude. I was ecstatic with the first episode. I was super happy.
It was freaking, it was fantastic, bro. Like, I don't even know, like, what else there's to, like, there's really nothing to nitpick about it. It's only, like, literally just, like, the only thing I said is, like, why did she freaking do that?
It's classic, like, it's, like, probably the only moment so far that it falls into any kind of, like, classic zombie tropes, you know? Like, other than that, I think it's a very unique, infected type of, like, scenario, you know? Yeah.
And I like how just interesting Joel is by the end of that first episode. Like, he's not this dude that's really just like, yeah, I'm just going to go help this, like, little girl just because she's a little girl and it's obviously the right thing. He's just like, I don't give a fuck. Obviously, I'm not trying to get attached to a little girl because I don't want freaking her to die and it to be like, my daughter all over again, blah, blah. Obviously, he's already just doesn't like to connect with people just in general. The only person he has is, like, his brother right now. That's why he's trying to freaking go out there and get him.
Yeah.
And it's just like, holy shit, how is this guy going to turn into this, sort of like savior character that like where it makes sense, where how is he going to turn into like the good guy almost, quote unquote. Not necessarily saying that he is like a good guy, just because I have heard you say that like he's not like,
He's not the
he's a
best.
morally ambiguous character, I
Yes,
guess you could say,
100%.
where
Yeah.
he
You understand the things that he does, but you don't necessarily agree with them, I think. And which is honestly to me HBO's bread and butter.
Yeah.
Like they're the kings and queens of fucking ambiguous characters.
Walter White, bro.
Walter White, fucking anybody from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's the fucking Sopranos,
Mm-hmm.
fucking classic shit. Like they always have those like kind of gray characters.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a good fit.
I think those are the most interesting characters, honestly, because it's like, I don't know, not to say like in real life that people are inherently just like morally like super good or morally really bad.
Yeah.
But it's very rare that you're just like, oh yeah, this dude just does everything like just really, he's
Yeah.
just a good ass.
It's a more
dude,
honest reflection of human beings, I think, when you have morally great characters.
Mhm.
And not only that, but like, if you think about it, right, like you can tell a story about a good guy or you can tell a story about a bad guy. But you can also tell a story about both. Of course, that character is probably going to seem a little more rich.
Hey,
you know?
sometimes my good guy does bad things and sometimes my
Exactly.
bad guy does good things.
Exactly, you never know. And they're not the same thing either, which is great. There's like 4 different things. It's crazy.
It's like this really crazy Venn diagram that we got going on here. It's
Yeah.
like with 4 circles instead of just 2, It's
Yeah.
like we got full crazy circles in there. And they all overlap in the
Yeah.
in the middle of the circles.
You
there.
got good guys, good bad guys, and bad good guys.
Yeah.
You know?
They're all there. They're all hanging out. They're all having a beer together,
Exactly.
It's Saturday and they're cracking open a cold one because they're what? With the boys.
Saturdays for the morally ambiguous boys.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
God damn it, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, episode 1 is a masterclass in, I think,
Adapting a game to
adapting a game
TV
to thing.
show.
I think just a TV show in general too.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think this definitely does a really, really good job of holding on to that tension. Like they know how to bring you up slowly and then just fucking keep you there until the episode's over and they're just kind of like, bye, see you next week.
Yeah. Latest. Yeah, I gotta go. Yeah. I know I just brought up this really important thing, but I just gotta go. I gotta go real quick.
I'll be back in 7 days. Don't worry about it. Okay?
Yeah, then I'll tell you about the rest. It's all good.
But then we're gonna stop again.
Yeah, then we're gonna. Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit more about the rest.
Yeah.
But we'll finish in about 9 weeks.
Yeah.
It just
No
don't worry.
worries.
Don't worry about it.
It's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah, I know. 7 more weeks, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I would say like the Marlene character interests me a lot because
Mm-hmm.
it seems like she has a lot of backstory with freaking with Ellie already.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all right, where does that come from? Obviously, there's this Riley character that I don't really know anything about. I know the Riley character comes from the what is that? The Left Behind, the Left Behind
Yeah.
expansion or whatever.
Yeah.
But I've never played it, and I don't know what goes on. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see. When you give me characters that obviously have some really rich history with other characters that are, with our main characters.
Yeah.
You gotta
wanna
show us
see
at
it.
some point, and I
Yeah.
want to see it.
Well, I think one thing that's also cool, again, this is a change from, if I'm not mistaken, this is a change from the game
Mhm.
that I think is good, which is I'm pretty sure the history is not as dense between Ellie and Marlene in the game. Which,
No,
which adds
think so.
a layer, I think, that is pretty cool because I think they talk about this in the podcast, is like in the game she sort of just functions as like the mission giver, like you show up and she's like, hey, this girl's really important, we need you to get her over there.
Yeah, it's like at a point where you're Joel running around with Tess,
Yeah.
and you're trying to get somewhere, and then you're going, and then all of a sudden like Marlene just is all hurt, and you're like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden this little girl comes along, and you're just like,
Okay.
fuck, yeah.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I need you to take this little girl, which I guess in the context of the show, right, that's kind of just what happens.
Yeah.
Joel and Tess just kind of stumble upon
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
And then Marlene's just all wounded. She's like, hey, I need you to take this chick,
Yeah.
But I think what's really good about this show is that you give us that backstory of Ellie, of what goes on before she even meets Joel or Tess. And you give us a little backstory. She thinks her name's Veronica.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
she's like, no, you're Ellie. You're not
Yeah.
Veronica.
Yeah.
And then you get Marlene coming in there like, hey, I put you in the fucking Fedra military school
Yep.
shit. They
Yep.
didn't do it. I did that shit, motherfucker.
Exactly. Are you my mom? She's
Yeah.
like, no.
Do I look like your fucking mom?
Yeah, she's like, but I knew her. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's good shit, dude. Yeah.
And that just adds more, to the show. Because if you're just like, I think if you're just, again, from the perspective of Joel running around with Tess in the TV show, even if you're doing, more backstory with them, if you kind of just stumble upon Ellie, it's kind of just like, all right, like, who is this chick,
Yeah.
But giving us, that, giving her backstory a little bit, and the fact that, she is immune to this shit, I think that was a good
It's a good move.
good move.
Yeah.
And yeah, the ending to that episode, the first episode, was pretty fucking nuts,
Yeah, where does it cut off?
Well, it cuts off. Ellie, Tess, and Joel make it out of the quarantine zone, and now they're in like the buffer zone, basically.
Yeah. And it's right after he beats the fuck out of the guard, right?
Yeah, that shit was nuts.
Yeah, that was a pretty well done fucking. I wouldn't necessarily say like a change, but
it's a change up, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's like something that's like you can guess about the character of Joel in the video game, right? But it not in terms of the actual story beat, but like the character like showcase that it is for him, right? Like Joel has PTSD in the game. But they don't have a scene like that where you literally see it happen. Like he's standing there and he flashes back to that shit and he just fucking goes crazy, like loses his goddamn mind,
Well, in the game, kind of just what happens is like they're on the ground and then they're taking the readings of everybody, and then when they're going to Ellie, she like stabs them.
Yeah.
And then Joel kind of just like tackles them because I think he's just like, all right, we're just fucking doing this now.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas like it's in the game, or not in the game, in the show, we've gotten the backstory with his daughter and everything. Yeah. We see how close they've gone, and then we saw the death. And then when we get to this point, as viewers, we're kind of like, okay, the shot's pretty similar.
Yeah.
Like, what is Joel going to think? And the fact that we kind of see the panic on Joel's face a little bit. Like, he seems like really scared, like a scared little kid almost,
he just dropped back into that fucking trauma.
Very traumatized. And they use that flashback like really well,
Yeah.
And that just gives us enough to be like, oh, okay, yeah, this dude, like,
he's living in
hardcore PTSD and like he's going to go off.
Yeah.
And the fact that he does is like,
crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah.
And then Pedro, does the look at the knuckles, and he's obviously
they're
like
all
kind of
shaking and broken and bloody and shit. Yeah.
And they're like, hey, we got to go. And yeah, that's where the episode ends off.
Yeah, it's good shit, dude.
Good shit, man. 9.8. Gave you 9.8.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Right. Let's move on to the second episode.
Yeah.
And again, another super, super solid opening, bro.
100%. Yeah.
Crazy opening.
And another change, too. Another diversion from the source material in a really, really good way. Yeah, I think the video game, if I remember correctly, I don't think at any point, whether it's flashback, like thought bubble or any kind of bullshit like that, you never leave the United States. You hear about other places getting like infected and shit like that in the intro of the game, right? But the fact that you see the infection take place like somewhere else in the world, I think is a pretty dope ass change. Like it makes the global part of like the fungal pandemic like more believable, I think, or just more grounded in a way.
I like that it also builds on, like, in the first episode, we hear on, like, the radio how some commotion going on in Jakarta with stuff, and then, boom, we drop us into Jakarta 2 days before this shit happens, and we see how it all starts, and I think it's so great because, again, it's another opening that just scares you, just scares you a lot, because you get in the first episode where the doctor says, like, hey, if this shit happens, like, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
But the fact that it happens decades, before in the 60s, you're kind of just like, all right, well, if it happens nowadays, like we should be well equipped to do this, right?
We can do something about it. Yeah.
Yeah. But we get this like episode just with the dude from the military.
Yeah.
And then the doctor, the mycologist, and he's like, hey, yo, we got to, you got to check this shit out.
Yeah.
And the fact that she, one, is kind of like, all right, what are bringing me here to do? And then she's checking it out and is like, okay, like, yeah, this is, just cordyceps, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But why did you put it under X, Y, and Z, you know? And they're just like, oh, because, like, she's like, you only do that with samples of stuff that comes from humans. And they're just like, well, yeah, because this sample came from a human. She's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
cordyceps can't survive in human beings.
You're pulling my fucking leg here.
Yeah.
You're pulling my goddamn leg is what you're doing.
Goddamn leg, yeah.
And then they're like, nah, you can check out homeboy if you want. Or homegirl if you want.
Yeah.
And so she goes and does, and
It's bad. It's gross.
It's bad.
It's
Again, we see
fucking yucky.
the little like the little spores or whatever, the little
Yeah.
tendrils or whatever. That shit's really creepy because you
It's
see it in
bad.
that first episode with the grandma.
Yeah.
But at first I thought it was just hair, but then when I was thinking about it, I was like, no, it's the little
It's the cordyceps.
yeah, it's the cordyceps
Yeah.
and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that shit's scary. And the fact that you see her pull it out of the mouth and then freak out,
Yeah.
like, okay, scary.
Yeah.
And then you have the scene when they're in the room and it's just her and the military dude, and he's like, all right, what do we do? And and he's also giving her the breakdown of like, yeah, like this happened, and there's also 14 other people that are missing, and she's like scared, and then she does that little thing with her cup where it shakes a little bit, and you see how freaked out she is. Like, whew, that scared me because you're just like, holy shit,
She's fucking. What's going on, man? You're like, what the fuck?
yeah,
Yeah.
And she gives him the answer like, all right, you know, we have to bomb, you know, like what? And he's like, what can we do? And she's like, a bomb, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
You have to bomb the city and everybody in it. And he's like, what the fuck? And she's just like, can I go and be with my family now? Because, like they said I think they said in the podcast episode, like the genie's out of the bottle at that point. You know? There's no putting it back in.
Nope.
Like you're putting it out there. You are the professional at that point, and you're saying the only way that we can deal with this and try to eradicate this as best as we can is if we bomb everybody
Just blow
here.
people
and
up.
that includes me. I'm telling you about this, and that includes me.
Yeah. Just hope you hit the people who are infected. Like, yeah, it's crazy, dude.
Another thing, I was watching a Ryan Airy, the Screen Crush video, and he was also talking about he put together the whole little details about
The bread shit.
the bread and shit.
Yeah.
Another one is Joel saying he's on Atkins and he he can't eat stuff like that because Atkins is old like a dietary program, Dr. Atkin, and one of the things in there is like you can't eat like bread and shit.
Oh
like that.
shit! Okay,
yeah, so
okay.
he can't.
So
he
they're
already
saved
can't-
by Dr. Atkins, bro.
saved by the Atkins and shit
Crazy,
like that.
crazy.
But fuck, what point was I getting to? God damn it. Oh, in the episode, she's eating in the beginning, and the freaking military dude when they're in the car driving, he's like, "Oh, sorry about your lunch." One for the interruption, and also because she was probably eating some shit that was already infected.
Yeah,
because,
that's true. That's a good
he already
point.
knows the level of in which the shit was going down. So.
Yeah.
Fucking scary, dude.
Yeah, it's
Fucking
good shit.
crazy
Good details,
dude.
man.
Crazy shit. Yeah, another way to just scare your viewers and just to again remind them of the stakes, but also up the stakes more. Like you have that first episode where the doctor's like, "Oh, we lose," but then you have this doctor in current day saying, "We have to bomb everybody."
Yep.
That's the only way we can deal with this. At whoa, okay, this is way more serious
Real
than
ass
just
shit.
regular zombies. Obviously with regular zombie shit, there's people that bomb it, but.
There's usually hope for a cure in a zombie movie, obviously that's kind of the setup of this game as well. It's like maybe there's a potential cure with Ellie or whatever, but I don't think at least I could be wrong, maybe I haven't seen enough zombie movies and stuff like that, but a lot of zombie apocalypses, they don't drop you 20 years in where this is like the new living, like you said, you usually see the progression of that world. Like you see how they learn to settle or survive or cure or whatever they end up doing.
I'd say Zombieland is the only other one.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a good point.
Because he already has his rules of what
yeah,
to do
everything.
and shit like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Goddamn, fucking Zombieland. That movie's good, dude.
But how do you feel about the changes that they made in this episode compared to what happens in the game? Do you feel like it's another they did this the right way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you said you haven't gotten that far, right? You haven't. So I mean, it's not a spoiler because you've seen the show. Tess dies, but it is definitely handled differently. And I think in this one, it's it fits the show more, which I like. I wouldn't have wanted them to establish in the first episode this basis of okay, we're gonna stay true and faithful to what but we're doing our own thing. Only for them in later episodes to when you get to iconic moments break that rule so you can just do shit how it was in the video game, you know what I mean? And so the fact that they early on in the episode kind of introduced again, it's not something that you can't infer from the video game, but the hive mind mentality of them, that they kind of work together and shit like that, but the game does not have anything about the sensors basically, right? Or it's not as heavily talked about that they're all interconnected like that and shit. And so just the way Tess gets taken out is like way fucking creepier, way scarier, way more like world building again for what they're doing in this universe, like this version of The Last of Us, right? Um, but yeah, I felt like I was gonna say something else, but that was about it. They did a good fucking job, man. It's crazy. It's real good. I like it.
I really like just again you see kind of how freaked out Joel is by Ellie. He's just like he's trying to tell Tess like, yo, this chick's got this bite, bro.
Yeah.
And we're just chilling with her. Like, what the fuck? Like, we need to go back.
Yeah.
You know, we need to just hand her back. And Tess is like, no, because if we hand her back, they're just gonna scan her. They're gonna see she's infected. And they're just gonna fucking kill her. Like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
And I like that in moments like this is very much Tess's episode for sure. You see like her character arc and you see the change that she goes through from being like this hardened chick that's kind of like willing to kind of do whatever just for her sake of survival. But now she like sees that there's hope and she's becoming a very hopeful person.
Yeah.
And she is starting to get Joel on that train or trying to like get the idea like planted in his mind of like, hey, there's hope out there and we need to, you know,
fight for that shit.
We need to fight for that shit. And this girl is the one, you know?
Yeah.
And again, I just think freaking Bella Ramsey does a great job. I just love her fucking dialogue, like when she's eating the sandwich and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she's eating the sandwich and then they're getting ready to go and they all have guns. She's like, can I have one? And they're like, no. She's like, fine, I guess I'm just gonna fucking throw a sandwich at them. Like, oh my God, no, that's fucking
dude.
great.
She's funny. I love it because Ellie is a very like bad mouth character for sure.
She's smart ass.
Just a smart ass motherfucker, dude. And she is like you know, imagine the type of, you know, childhood that she's had. Like she said, she's an orphan, right? She fucking got bit, but like didn't fucking die, and then nothing happened to her in this world where everybody around her has always told her completely the opposite, right? But like, yeah, she's just at the same time, again, they talk about this in the podcast, there is also like she seems all like hardened and like almost older for her age and shit like that, right? With the way she talks and shit, all crazy. But you could tell there's still like a layer of like fear under there of like she's never been outside the fucking QZ, the quarantine zone, until that moment.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of her like just the way her character is like a false bravado at a lot of times.
Yeah,
because she's just
definitely.
like she just hears a lot of stories. Obviously, she's asking Tess like, oh, there's not just like hordes of like infected like coming after you all the time and like this and that. There's not ones with like exploding freaking like spores and shit like that. And they're like, fuck, like I hope not. Like not
like I don't know, man.
And it just shows like how much she like doesn't know. Obviously, like there's that line in the first episode where they finally get outside. She's like, "Oh my God, like I'm outside," you know? Like,
yeah.
She's never been outside. She doesn't know, and this is her first experience. And this is also like a change for her in this episode. Is her realizing like the real dangers of outside. And Tess is also trying to drill those into her. And she says at one point like, you're not immune to like being ripped apart.
100%.
Like, yeah, they'll still come after you and they'll still fuck you up.
Eat your ass, man.
Yeah,
you
like,
gotta be careful.
Yeah. But yeah, this was just again another just great episode. I think a masterclass at like character building, like a really crazy like beginning and an end to a character, like a character that you think is gonna be super important, like for a good portion of the series. But they're like, we're knocking her out in the second episode.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's gonna be super emotional and it's gonna fucking suck.
Yeah, I will say that's one thing that like, and I'll explain why, because it's gonna sound weird, but like I'm happy Tess died in the second episode. Is the real meat and potatoes of The Last of Us, as great and as much emotional character and content we've already gotten from all these people in these first two episodes, the actual story is Joel and Ellie, obviously. So I'm glad that we get 7 more episodes, the vast majority of the season with them, because that's like the important shit right there, is the bond they develop.
Well, I think for me at least, what I was like thinking about like when I was watching the second episode and seeing how curious Ellie is about everything, and then how willing Tess is to, you know, tell her about a lot of stuff, give her information about everything that's happened, history and stuff like that. They almost seem like very similar in the types of like in their character and stuff like that. Like they have like similar traits. Like they're both very like very assertive. They're both very just like, we're gonna be tough. We're gonna
Yeah.
be fucking, And I think Sarah is also has like similar traits. Like when you look at Sarah, Tess, and Ellie, I feel like they all sort of act very similar towards Joel.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he's very connected towards
All three of them.
all three of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I feel like they very much fill that space of like he needs that person that's gonna be very like straight up and firm with him and like talk shit to him and
Yeah,
like really
yeah.
talk back to him and be like, no, motherfucker, like this is what you're gonna do, or this is what we have to do
Yeah.
because of X, Y, and Z, and I'm gonna make you see this because you're just blind in not in every single way, but you're blinded by how you've had to live because
Yeah.
of what happened to your daughter,
Yeah.
and I'm here to show you that you don't have to live this way anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's fucking gone numb over the last 20 years, dude. Like, he's like, when we first run into him, it's crazy. He's like, I wouldn't say like dumb, but just like simple in a way, like he's had to like take all the extra feelers out of his life to then bring it down to like these core few that he can survive off of.
He's a single dad he's a single dad who's raising his daughter and he's trying to get by. He's trying to make it work, 2003, not the craziest of times to try to make shit work.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and obviously, and he has a construction job too. A lot of that is very like touch and go. Like sometimes you have jobs, sometimes you don't. And he says it too in the first episode, like when Tommy's like, we could just, bring another guy on. And he's just like, I don't want to. He's like, I already don't want to split the money with you, Obviously shit's hard, when you have a house and you have a kid, like, you got to make sure food's on the table. You got to make sure bills are paid. You got to make sure, the lights, turn
Stay
on. It's tough out there, and it's nuts.
Yeah.
And Joel just turns into a crazy motherfucker, dude.
He really does, man. Yeah. It is nice to see. I'm excited to watch him, like, I won't say turn exactly back into his old self, right? Because obviously there's no way to recover from that and go back, but to open up again, I think I'm probably on the mind of most people watching the show already. I think they've like, or maybe it's not. I don't know. That's something I've like wondered is it's like, you already kind of can tell, right, that it's going to be like Ellie teaching him how to fucking live again, so to speak, or whatever, right? Like, that's a little cheesy to say it, but like helping him open up again, or is that something that's just like coming because I've played the video game?
No, I think when you look at it, and especially from like how well they did the opening, when you see that the beginning is so focused on like Joel and his daughter, and then you go 20 years later after his daughter's died, and then you see Ellie, and then they cross paths. I think it's very clear that it's like, okay, they are, she's going to teach him something about, about life and stuff like that.
Okay.
And she's going to teach him some stuff, and it's very much going to be about them. And I think it's pretty clear.
Okay.
I don't think it's like a surprise that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think what is unclear for like viewers, right, is I think we have like this sort of already thought in our heads, like, all right, Joel's gonna be turned into like the super good guy again. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, right, moving forward, because I don't know like obviously like a crazy amount of like what happens like in the game.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, like there are times when like Joel still makes choices that are like selfish choices, but you can see them as like the right choice.
Yeah.
So I think what's interesting for me is seeing how that's going to play out, and not just like the complete, like, I don't want to say like Rick Grimes arc, but when you see like Rick Grimes in freaking The Walking Dead, obviously he has this moment where he turns hella, like really dark and is like, all right, I'm willing to kill everybody. But then he has this like, all right, cool, I'm going to be the happy-go-lucky guy again.
Yeah.
Like, not saying I'm not going to kill people, but very much like very redeeming. I'm the good guy again.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to see how Joel's going to take that,
path.
How Joel's going to take that path.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to ultimately in the end be like, yeah, I'm the super, good guy.
Yeah.
I think he's still going to have his reputation of being this hard ass motherfucker that you don't want to fuck with. And, but I think it's just going to show, again, it's just going to show a guy how to like accept love into his heart again, as
Yeah.
simple as I can put it. You
Yeah,
know?
no, most definitely.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
he doesn't have to be so pessimistic and
Mm-hmm.
so like, you know, the world is how it is and you know, there's no hope for it. Let's just
Yeah.
try to get by and do
Yeah.
whatever we want. Ellie's gonna show him like, no, I am hope. You
Yeah,
know?
100%. Yeah, I think the thing that's like different about The Last of Us is I feel like in a lot of survival zombie something or other type of like redemption arcs like this, at a certain point in time they like may or may not kind of suspend the survival aspect
Mm-hmm.
so that they can give you the emotional beats that they're trying to give, right? This world is like unforgiving, like start to finish, no matter what. Like they're doing, all their decisions are based on like survival, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no, like, I mean, they have like the, what do you call it? The closed off cities and stuff, right? But like that's not really a good way of living. Like we didn't really talk too much about like the Fedra like facility in the beginning, but it's like hardcore fucking lockdown shit. Like their
Mm-hmm.
curfew's like 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. You get like 12 hours outside and that's it.
Yeah,
Fucking
well,
lock yourself up.
it's martial law shit.
Yeah. So it's fucking hardcore. Like the world is definitely unforgiving, and I think like in certain mediums, characters will be able to make decisions because like for the plot, and it's great. I'm not saying it's like bad or anything. It's just different. Like for the sake of the plot, they can make a decision that doesn't have to adhere to the rules of the world necessarily. You know, like Woody Harrelson can just like take out like a million fucking zombies because he accepted his son's death or whatever. You know what I mean? Versus like in this one, that threat of like constant fucking death by the infection never goes away. Like it's always on their fucking tail from start to finish.
Yeah. And I think what's so different about this show, and like I think what makes Joel an interesting character, is like with Rick Grimes in The Walking Dead, you watch him go through this change of like, okay, I don't want to kill people, you know, and not really accepting the new way of like life and the new
Yeah.
way the world was, right? And so you go through that change and you see him like start to understand it, and then he completely understands it, and then he understands you don't have to do, you know, all this crazy
Yeah,
shit, blah
yeah.
blah blah. Whereas here you pick up with Joel where he's very much turned into the guy that like, no, I'll do whatever like I have to do to survive. And
Yeah.
it's just like, all right, this is
It's
pretty
different.
fucking
Yeah,
nuts.
yeah.
And like, yeah, just pairing that, I think it's this show is like a lot of like morphing like stuff that's beautiful with a lot of stuff that's, you know,
Like
hardcore
horror, yeah.
and like horror and like
Yeah.
hardcore in a sense, you know, like
Most definitely.
the core of it is like a love story with a guy who, you know, and like a surrogate daughter, basically. But then you drop it in like a zombie background, and
Yeah.
the guy is like the super hardcore dude that's willing to kill anybody and willing
Yeah.
to do what he needs to do to survive, and it's like nuts.
Yeah, they talk about it in like I think the first episode of the podcast where it's like love is like, you know, this beautiful positive force and shit like that. But at the same time, like anything else on the flip side, it can also be this thing that makes you do crazy horrible things, you know, because like out of love comes protection and out of protection comes survival sometimes, and it's like, yeah, it's fucking
Some very primal stuff going on.
100%. It's crazy. So I was gonna say this earlier, but the beautiful thing about this like story, whether it's the video game or the show that we're watching, is that because that is the constant, right? Like that's just the natural state of how this show functions. The moments when you do finally see the warmth, or you do see the hope, or you do see the love, or that, and they're like they hit 10 times harder because they're like a lot. It feels like more. I don't want to say more earned, but like you've just been suspended for longer, you know, to get to that moment. It's crazy. It's good shit.
So from a video game, someone who played the video games, how'd you feel about how the clickers were depicted in this
It's
episode?
perfect.
Yeah.
100% perfect. That's like verbatim, like basically what a clicker is. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like the sound effect was perfect, the way they move is perfect, the way they look is perfect, the way you have to fucking kill them is perfect. The fight is like essentially what it is like the first time you fight a clicker in the game. Because like, you know, at this point you've probably fought a couple of like random like outsider like gang memberships or whatever, some Fedra agents,
Some goons.
yeah, you know, and like maybe even a couple infected here and there, but the clicker is like
A lot different.
yeah, it's like a mini, like not a mini boss, but it's just, you know, they always introduce like slightly stronger guys and shit like that. And I like that there was a like I felt like I talked about this when we talked about John Wick. John Wick almost feels like video gamey to me, especially the third one, where like across each of the movies, there's like stronger bad guys for him to fight. And I like that the show is doing that too, especially seeing as it comes from a video game. You know, like you see them struggle to like fight off infected in the beginning, but they're not like they can run faster than them, right? They can easily knock them out and shoot them and shit like that.
Yeah.
Versus it's like a whole nother beast, man. Like shit's crazy.
Yeah, it's just not the regular zombie of like, oh, it's like it's the slow walking. Sometimes
Yeah.
it runs and
Yeah.
like you just gotta shoot in the head. Like, no, the clicker is like the shit that's growing out of its eyes is almost like armor in a sense.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it doesn't freaking
Can't even dome them, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's freaking
Yeah.
they were creepy, bro. Like
Yeah.
when you first hear like the sound, like the little the
Oh,
little
it's
fucking,
nasty,
it's like
dude.
it's fucking nasty, dude.
It's so bad, yeah.
But I also like sort of like when they were going on that path, right? And they're like, oh, I guess we can like, you know, our path in front of us that we were trying to take that was the long way, that was going to be the safer way,
Yeah.
is now blocked because all these infected came from
Yeah.
like underground or whatever,
Yeah.
and they came up, blah, blah, blah. And so we can't go that way because we're going to wake them all up, and it's more than we can freaking handle. So, all right, let's go through the museum. And you're like, the fucking museum?
Yeah.
The fuck is the museum? So you
Yeah.
obviously get the sense that, like, all right, Tess and freaking Joel have done this before, so
Yeah.
this should be chill. But then you see all the freaking the fucking cordyceps and everything connected in there. You're like, oh god, this is
shit.
gonna be some fucking shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, then they walk up and Joel tests out one of like the little veins, and it's like, oh no, like, you know, this is
Yeah.
dry, so
Yeah,
we should be fine.
Yeah.
And they walk in, they're like, okay, they're gonna be, you know, gonna be good. Like, you know, the show takes you to some highs and some lows,
Yeah,
and it's ready to
100%.
sweep the rug out from under you.
Yeah.
And then when you get like what made me a little scared is when they see the dead guy, and then Joel and Tess start to kind of like freak out, and
yeah.
they're just like, oh my god, what could have done this?
Yeah.
And like, nah, it's still it's not gonna be here, right? Like maybe he just walked in here because of like what happened.
Yeah, outside, yeah.
And then I think it's Ellie that was just like, nah, like uninfected like wouldn't have just done this, you know? Like,
Yeah. She's like,
this is
I
some
got bit
hardcore
by an
shit.
infected. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
This is some hardcore shit.
I love his line where he looks at her and he goes, from this point forward, we are silent.
Mm-hmm.
Not quiet, silent.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck, bro. Here we go. I was like, oh, shit.
I was just thinking about like me in that situation, like what I would do is I'd be like, fuck, dude, like I probably if I was in a situation like that and a homeboy like Joel told me like I needed to be silent, like I don't know if I could close my mouth hard enough, you
Yeah,
know,
like,
at that point.
We did 100% just like.
Yeah.
Shit would be fucked
Dude.
up.
Oh my gosh, and it's just so creepy. And what I also like about the show and what they're doing, like what made me feel like I was playing the game, is when they take like cover behind like the little objects and like the little, you know, the little things and like inside, and
Yeah,
like when
yeah.
they take cover and they crouch down.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh
Feels
shit,
like the game.
that's in the game.
I played that.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I've gone around a corner and I freaking
Yeah, dude.
went around like that. Like that shit's crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously, I haven't dealt with the clickers yet. That's gonna be a whole different thing.
Oh, yeah.
But at least like, you know, when you're taking cover,
Yeah, it's
and
the
you're going,
gameplay.
yeah.
The other one too that made me laugh, me and my dad laughed at it, is I think it's in the second episode, is they do the like lift, you know how you like go up to like a ledge that's too tall for you and you like boost them up and then they grab you and shit like that. We're like, that's from the game.
Yeah.
There's so many good like fucking from the game
Yeah.
moments. They're great.
Or like even after that moment when they're freaking when they're walking when they're going from one building to the next, and Joel's like, oh yeah, you just walk over that thing right there, and it's like a little plank, and you know, in the game you just walk over little planks and shit like that too.
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's beautiful, man.
One thing that I'm excited about, I think, did you watch like the what's it called? Like this season on The Last of Us thing that played after the first episode?
I don't know.
It's like a quick little montage of everything else coming along. There's a character called Bill. It's the guy Nick Offerman's going to be playing. They've kind of name dropped him already at this point. And in the video game, his partner that's there is mentioned, but he is already gone by the time you meet him. So it's exciting to see that he's going to be there at some point. Like, I don't know if they're going to straight change it or if we're just going to get a perspective on them at some point or another.
You know who plays him?
Yeah, bro. That's why I brought
Armand,
it up. It's
bro.
fucking Armand, dude. I can't wait. It's going to be hilarious, dude. I'm so excited.
That's so funny. When I saw that, I was like, "Oh my god, that's the homie Armand!
Dude,
We're gonna see him. I'm
it's
so
gonna
ready
be
for that
fucking
shit."
great, man.
But yeah, seeing Nick Offerman in like a super serious like role like this,
Yeah.
like that's I think is gonna be a super serious role.
Yeah.
Is gonna be pretty nuts because he's mainly like a comedic relief
Yeah.
type of guy.
Yeah.
Not saying he can't do serious stuff like that. Not saying he can't act his ass off, but normally he's like funny guy.
Yeah.
So seeing him in something like this, it's gonna be
Refreshing.
awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I think he's gonna do a good job.
Gonna be freaking awesome, mate.
Gonna be freaking great.
But yeah, super sad that Tess died this episode.
Yeah.
And then she got bit.
It's
And
heavy
she's
shit.
like, heavy shit, man.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the little freaking nasty kiss that went down at the end?
It was pretty wild. Definitely like up the like creepiness factor of the infected for sure. Cause like in the game, that's not a thing. It's like either you get bit by one of them or they have like the spores, right?
Mhm.
They have to like put the masks on so they don't breathe that shit in. And that's about it. So that shit was fucking wild, dude. It was crazy. I thought it was definitely very, very good on the terror aspect. It was fucking freaky.
It was creepy. I was like, dude, Tess, why are you not like running away? You're just gonna let this fool freaking
Well, it's
smooch your little ass like that.
It's the fucking cordyceps.
Uh-huh.
That's why. Cause
No,
like,
yeah.
it starts fucking infecting her at that point, dude. It's fucking, fucking nasty shit.
Well, was
man.
it the cordyceps affecting her so she wasn't like moving, or
Yeah.
did she just like?
Yeah, because it started to take over. That's why she like slows down with the lighter as well. Because it's like obviously doesn't want to get burnt. So it's like, hey, motherfucker, stop doing that. But like, yeah, she's paralyzed at the same time, and then at the last second she gets in, is able to drop it, and they just blow the fuck up. But yeah, it's bad news. Like that's totally different too from the game because like you don't ever see anybody like turn that's like a character, if I'm not mistaken. And when you do see somebody turn in the game, it's like you kill them and then like a cutscene happens and then they're like, and they wake up real quick and come and like try to attack you or something. You know, it's never like the actual like event of it happening. And so it's fucking wild the way they do it in this shit.
Yeah, that shit was pretty nuts. But I did like the exchange between Tess and Joel when she's basically telling him like, nah, like we gotta have hope.
Yeah.
Like you gotta. I never ask you to do anything. That's the one thing I'm asking you to fucking do.
Yeah.
And she's just like, save who you can save. And
Yeah.
she's just like, all right.
Okay.
And then he's just like, yeah. He takes Ellie. And then you can kind of see at the end he's just like, I don't fuck with this little
Nah,
chick.
hell
This
no.
is
This is bullshit.
yeah.
Man.
This is your fault. And then freaking who is it? Freaking Ellie's kind of feeling the same way, just because obviously she was growing to like Tess, and the fact that she died and shit like that, she's kind of just like, fuck you, Joel.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see their dynamic moving
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah, it's funny shit and it's good shit and it's heartwarming and it's heavy. It's fucking awesome. And what's crazy now that I think about it? Fucking just because we're talking about video games and shit, it's not the exact same story, but the bare bones of it is basically what God of War is.
Yeah.
At the same time, like it's the estranged father. I mean, it's his actual son, but it's like the estranged father, like taking his kid outside of the like usual area that they're used to go on like a journey where they become closer and shit like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
kind of crazy. I just thought of that.
But yeah, I'm freaking interested to see like the crazy shit Joel's gonna do. How much ass he's gonna kick.
Oh yeah.
Because I know he's a crazy motherfucker.
Well, what's cool is like the like ass he kicks is not necessarily like him being more skilled than other people. It's more about him being more willing to do whatever the fuck it takes to survive. Like that's his like skill, like he's not out there fucking John Wick and motherfuckers like taking people out with headshots and shit like that. Like he's just the guy who fucking fights you until you run out of bullets, knocks you over the head with a brick, and then like stabs you with a piece of glass. Like, you know what I mean? Like he's just fucking savage out there trying to survive and shit.
Yeah, because I remember like I was going through YouTube and there was like the short little clips and it was doing like a Rick Grimes versus like Joel Miller because they're they're very similar characters.
Yeah.
And the homie, they like gave Joel like a bunch of points. And I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Who is this fucking guy here, right?
Yeah.
Who's this guy?
Yeah.
You're saying he could whoop my guy Rick Grimes' ass over here?
Yeah.
You're saying your guy, freaking Mr. Miller over there, can kick freaking Mr. Grimes' ass over here?
I think we got a fight on our
don't know.
hands, gentlemen.
But yeah, after like watching these first couple episodes, I'm like, oh, okay, no, I mean, I see
Yeah, it's just a different dynamic, man. Like the will to survive is just like way higher stakes in this shit. It's crazy.
It's crazy, man. I have no clue what the fuck's gonna happen next episode. Obviously, I think we're gonna have like a Bill and Frank episode.
I think that would be cool. I've heard. I remember hearing that there were going to be certain episodes that were about characters and how they came across like Joel and like maybe presumably Tess.
Mm-hmm.
So that way when we get to them, like with Joel and Ellie, you have the backstory on them.
Okay.
So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like maybe not a flashback episode, but just like a story about, you know, like you said, Bill and Frank just like talking about how they know Joel and shit like that. So that way when they get there, it's already familiar.
Interesting. So was like the first season basically just gonna be the first game?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. If I'm not mistaken, it seems like it. There's part that Last of Us, like this season on thing I was telling you about, seemed to me to have some shots that seemed like pretty end gamey, like last like few hours of the game. So I think so. I think I want to say that 9 hours is more than sufficient to tell the story of the game, because like obviously there's a lot of hours from your like playthrough or whatever that would like come from actual gameplay, but I think the actual like story beat cutscenes are probably anywhere from like 6 to 9 hours.
Okay.
So I think it makes sense.
It's a good time frame right there, 6 to 9 hours.
Yeah, it's right about perfect, honestly. You know, you cut out all the things that you would do just going bang, bang, boom, boom, and you just cut it down to the story and you're good to go.
6 to 9 hours. That's what you guys need.
6 to 9 hours. And however many episodes you want. I don't give a damn. Give me 3-hour episodes. I think I want to see somebody do that. Like a trilogy type season, you know? Like you watch 3 like fat chunks of a story or whatever, but you don't have to like, you don't time jump, you know? Like it's like one consistent story.
Interesting.
I think it'd be kind of fun, you know,
I'd be
especially
down with it.
for like an anthology series. I think it'd be cool. Like if you were to take like, fucking, not to keep on talking about Harry Potter, but we're gonna have to do it again soon because that fucking Hogwarts Legacy's coming out in like a month.
Hell yeah.
There's like rumors, right, of like a Harry Potter show being remade at some point or whatever, and I think that would be cool. Like we have what 7 like things or whatever, like
7 books.
yeah, like make it a show, but make the episodes of the show like very long form, you know, like an hour and a half to 2 hours each, so you get the same time that you got from the original shit.
Oh yeah, I think that. I mean, for that's definitely what I would want to just like, because there's so much stuff in like something like a Harry Potter where it's like, all right, we need to take our time to like,
Yeah.
you know, to really dive into all this and give you everything.
Well, because if we get 7 seasons of Harry Potter as opposed to 7 movies, we can probably get shit that's like closer reflected to the books, you know?
100%.
Yeah.
And the fact that I'm pretty sure Harry Potter is like a HBO property, so
Oh yeah, there's
hopefully-
gonna be. It's gonna have that money, that HBO money. Fingers crossed.
fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
There's the connection right there. Is it like Last of Us gives me hope that HBO knows how to adapt. You know, they got a real good thing going with this for sure.
So you think we're just gonna get like 2 seasons? The Last of Us
Part
first
1 and
season
part 2.
and then 2.
I think that this is something my dad was talking to me about, and I like pretty much agree with him. Is that The Last of Us Part 2, without giving spoilers, has like 2 sides to a story, and so I could see them doing season 1, Last of Us Part 1, and then taking their time so that they can properly give the right amount of screen time to like both sides of that story.
Okay.
In the second one, you know, like they don't necessarily have to do like season 2's one side and season 3's the other, but just like take your time to get there so it feels right.
Okay.
So I could see that, because I would also imagine that they probably want to stretch out that money.
Stretch it out a little bit. You got Pedro,
Exactly.
You don't want him just for 2 seasons.
No. Like Mando's at 3 seasons over there on Disney. They're like, fuck you. You can get to get for 3 seasons over here at HBO too.
Isn't it crazy? Pedro Pascal's basically just like the face of like just 2 major freaking just 2 major like corporations right
moment,
now.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
He's like, oh yeah, HBO, yeah, that's me right now, and Disney Plus, like that's also me. Yeah. You don't really see my face, but it's me.
He's like, I am the Mandalorian, and I am the king of taking care of small children.
That is the one thing that I couldn't help thinking about. Like when I was watching this, I was like, dude, this guy's just the Mandalorian all the fucking time, dude. He's just taking care of
Ellie's
kids.
just Grogu. She's a special child.
Dude's just a babysitter.
He is, yeah.
Hey, he's a great babysitter.
I saw this funny interview where they point that out to him as well, I think, and they're like, "Oh, you're just a daddy," and he's like, "Daddy's just a state of mind."
yeah.
He's fucking great, dude.
Yeah. Oh, and they were asking like, "Oh, who's more daddy, like you?" And then they showed him a picture of like Oscar Isaac, and he's like, well, I mean, he has kids, but I am older, and he's like, so I guess I'm daddy. He's like, yeah, daddy's just like a state of mind. And he's just like, I'm daddy.
He's fucking funny, dude. Oh, he's good.
He's a good. Oh, goddamn. I can't wait for the 3rd episode. I'm fucking
hyped, dude.
I'm fiending for more freaking.
Me too.
The Last of Us. Can't wait for my days off because I'm gonna fucking play the fuck out of that game.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. It's some good shit.
Fuck out of it. And I don't know, dude. I'm gonna be sad in like a few weeks when it's gone, bro.
Yeah, me too. It's gonna be a hard wait, I think, for sure, until season 2. Because like, with the response it's already gotten, I don't doubt that they don't have plans to do the sequel as well. Because like. They fucking greenlit House of the Dragon before it even came out. So with a response like that, I'm sure they have.
Yeah, we'll probably get like word of like The Last of Us season 2.
Yeah,
I would say within the next couple weeks for sure.
Yeah, most definitely. So I'm excited. I want to see how much more we're gonna get from this like rendition of it. I'm excited to, like you said, like hopefully see a Bill and Frank episode. Like you don't get nearly as much backstory on them as I think we're gonna get in this shit. So. I'm excited to see those, not little characters, but like just characters that didn't get as much time devoted to them, like maybe get to be expanded more in the show. Like we got with Sarah, like we're getting hopefully with these other 2 coming up. So
1000%.
It's going to be cool, man. I'm excited.
And you guys know me. I'm all about freaking diving deeper into characters, and then freaking, just getting more backstory. Like, yeah, it just makes the show better. And I think HBO just like has it down to like a science at this point.
Oh, yeah, 100%, dude.
Knows what the fuck they're doing.
Basically, everything that comes from them is high quality. I don't know that an HBO show ever comes out that people aren't watching.
I've never heard anyone talk anything bad about an HBO show.
Yeah, like you might have critiques, but nobody's ever just like fucking.
This shit's
I'm not even
bullshit.
gonna watch that. Like when HBO puts something out, there's millions and billions of people streaming that shit. Like,
which is nuts.
Yeah,
it's nuts, man. But yeah, again, episode 2 was probably like I would say that one was probably like a 10 for me, honestly. That one was solid, man.
There was one part in that like I'll say like it's probably a 10, but there was one part that made me laugh where it was the bit where they walk out and they see all the infected for the first time, like in the horde or whatever, right? And then Tess just starts like telling Ellie all of the information really quick. I was like, all right, that seems like it's from the video game. Like that's video game Tess right there. She's just like, hey Ellie, by the way, this is how the zombies work.
Yeah, it felt very video game-esque right there.
Yeah. So that part just kind of like took me out for a second, but then we got down there, got to the clicker battle, and I was like right back in. So
yeah, I liked what they did with like the tendrils and like the fact that everything's connected and that they can sense it from like so you really got to be careful if you step on like a fresh batch, they're gonna feel it.
They're gonna come after you.
And I like that comes back at the end of the episode. That Joel does that on accident, and freaking all the zombies come freaking running, and that was nuts. How do you feel about them not having spores in the show? Like the floating ones.
I think it's fine. Like I get why they would do it. Like for one, doesn't Chernobyl have like people in masks all the time, right?
I think so.
So I would get why the writer would be like, we can get rid of that. It's fine. And on the other hand, too, I think it like helps make the like put like, as not to say Pedro Pascal can't act with a fucking mask on. Obviously, we've seen he can in The Mandalorian, right? But it just gives more screen time to the actors' faces, you know. If instead of having to like, sure, a sport, maybe we'll get a spore sequence or something at some point. I mean, granted, we're only 2 episodes in, but if it doesn't show up, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Yeah, I think just a practical standpoint just doesn't make the most sense because it's like, why am I gonna go through all that struggle to put like masks, like, and like it's a mechanic in the game where you're like putting the mask on and then you're like taking it off. It's like that's probably gonna be like an annoying thing to have to like try to film and like do that constantly,
all the
like,
time. Yeah,
gotta put it on.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta take it off. Oh, we
Yeah.
gotta put it on. Oh, we
Yeah.
gotta take it off.
you gotta get the right shot. Their hair has to come out of it right and shit or whatever. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Craig Mason said this at like the end of the episode on like the second one. It also just makes sense from just like a realistic standpoint. Like spores aren't just gonna like concentrate in like one area.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna be floating around like all the time.
Yeah.
So realistically, you'd have to have like a mask on like
All the time.
all the fucking time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm not a big player on the game yet, but I've liked what they've done from what I've understand what they've changed, and I think it makes a lot of sense. It's not something like fucking Master Chief takes his fucking helmet off, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. Like that's like
that's downright disrespectful.
I agree with you. I think that's like a fat part of who he is as a character. Like it's not just like
you just don't know what he looks like.
No. And beyond that too, it's like he's not to fucking dive too much in Halo or anything like that, but fucking Master Chief is just like a drone of like a human being at that point. Like he's a good guy and he's super fucking badass and fun to play as, but he's like a shell of who he is, you know? So the fact that he doesn't have a face just makes him more like mysterious because like he does kind of interact with Cortana in a more human way, you know? Like he gives a shit about her and all that stuff. But yeah, anyways, that was my Halo rant. I read the fucking one of the fucking many Halo books that they've made that is pretty fucking good. The backstory lore shit that they have in the Halo universe is actually pretty top tier.
Interesting.
Yeah, if you want to read some books, they're there, but if not, I can also send you a link. There's a dude who literally made a video that was like, I read all the Halo books so you don't have to. And it's like a funny ass video of him just recalling all the events and shit.
Dude, nowadays someone's made a video on fucking everything.
100%. Yeah, everything. There's whole channels devoted to just like one thing that you can think of now.
Dude, today at work I was trying to figure out what kind of like blades you guys need for like the box cutter so I can get you guys more.
Yeah.
And that freaking the red one, the Milwaukee one. I was like trying to figure out what blades it was, so I was like took it apart to freaking to see it just because I didn't know how to take the blade out, and I was like, well, gotta take this shit apart, and so I took it apart, and I couldn't figure out how to put it back together because the blade just kept falling out, and I was like, all right, I'm missing a part in here somewhere.
Yeah.
So I literally looked up a video.
And it was there.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah. Fucking crazy.
It was fucking great.
Of course.
But yeah, there's a video on literally anything.
The
everybody.
magic of YouTube.
Hell yeah.
The internet.
The Last of Us episode 2, shit was great.
Yeah.
I'm ready for episode 3. We might talk about the episodes from time to time, but we're not going to dive into them fully. I don't know, unless like a crazy episode happens. And then we're gonna
maybe
be
there'll
like,
be an emergency Last of Us episode.
We gotta freaking watch this. But
yeah, who knows?
We'll definitely come back once the season ends,
Yeah.
and we'll have like another just like straight up The Last of Us episode again, where
for
we
sure.
talk about everything, because we'll have to break all that motherfucking shit down.
They have The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2, so we can have The Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 episodes.
Straight up.
Part 1 and Part 2.
Straight freaking up.
Yeah.
But hell yeah. You got anything else to say about The Last of Us?
I'm just super in love, super excited. I'm like 100% satisfied. This is the most satisfied I've ever been by a video game adaptation.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I can second that. And I haven't even fucking played the game fully.
Yeah, it's good shit, dude.
But I mean, this is just all around just a great show.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're out there and you're looking for something to watch, should definitely go to the top of your list, 1000%.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I think this is a show that just anybody could like. It's not even like I think if you didn't know this was a video game, you couldn't even tell that this was based on a video game.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like if you're just like, oh, like if you're just like, 60-year-old grandma and you're just like, oh
Let
my
me
gosh,
check
The
this
Last
out.
of Us,
Yeah.
like Pedro Pascal, I love him. He's a beautiful man. Like, you know,
Yeah, 100%.
let's check this out. You know?
for sure.
You don't need to know that it's based on a video game, and it's
No.
freaking just a fantastic fucking show.
Yeah, it stands on its own.
This makes me want to go back and watch Chernobyl because I haven't watched that.
Me neither. Yeah, maybe we can do an episode on that at some point.
I know my mom's watching it. That was one that she was always bugging me to like watch. She's like,
Okay.
you need to watch Chernobyl. You need
Yeah,
to watch
yeah.
Chernobyl.
Okay.
And The Last of Us, I'm like, yo, you need to watch The Last of Us.
Yeah.
And one of my points to her was like, yo, one of the dudes that wrote on Chernobyl
Yeah.
is on here. And she's just like, oh, okay.
Did she start watching it?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay.
My mom is an avid show watcher.
Mhm.
Not that she sits down and, wastes her time watching TV like I do. But she does have an extensive list of shows that she needs to watch. And she slowly gets through them.
Nice. Hell
Mhm.
yeah. Very nice.
Some definitely at specific times will take precedent over others.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think when Stranger Things came out, I can't remember if she watched it. See, this is another thing. My mom's really good about, like, she'll just watch one episode a week.
Oh, okay.
She'll stretch it out.
Yeah, yeah.
I think there was only one time when she was watching Stranger Things where she, like, stretched it to, like, 2 episodes because, like,
She had to go back
yeah,
to back. Yeah.
that
yeah.
season was just
Crazy good.
just too crazy good,
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, she chips away at her shows. She
Huh.
does the freaking, she has her days where, when she doesn't have work, she sits down and she's like, all right, I'm gonna get
Let's get
let's
down
watch-
on some shit.
let's
Yeah.
watch some shows.
Hell
But
yeah.
yeah, she watched White Lotus before I watched White Lotus.
Oh, nice.
She's watched a lot of stuff. I'm pretty sure she watched Breaking Bad before I watched Breaking Bad.
Hmm.
She watched Game of Thrones when it was like coming out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Her really liked to watch Walking Dead. Me and my mom would have like Sunday nights. A lot of times would be
Walking
like
Deads.
Walking Dead night.
Nice. Hell yeah.
We always liked watching How I Met Your Mother. That one.
Oh,
Was another
yeah.
one
That's a good show. I
where we
love
would
that
like
show.
record it and watch it like.
We gotta do a
weekly.
How I Met Your Mother episode.
Dude,
We could do sitcoms.
We got to do How I Met Your Mother versus Friends episode.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because those are both, in terms of like just friend-based sitcoms,
Pretty damn good.
pretty damn good.
Pretty damn classic.
I think most sitcoms are like friend-based sitcoms.
Yeah, like ensembles.
Yeah,
You got,
like Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
Freaking How I Met Your Father.
yeah. It's not bad.
Hmm
That's that 90s show, bro. Have you started watching it yet?
I haven't.
Oh, it's
It's good.
fuck yeah.
The thing that just made me sad when I clicked on it was that it was only 10 episodes. In
I
the
agree.
original series, there was like 26 episodes.
Yeah, it was like
a
classic
season.
running on TV
Yeah.
type shit. Yeah,
And I
I-
think if you're gonna stay true, you need to bring that back.
the
man.
episodes. Yeah, I
Fuck
think
it,
I could. I'm pretty sure it's like upvoted and all popular and thumbs up and shit on there. But just from me watching it, I don't see like in the same way like we're talking about Last of Us just getting greenlit for season 2. I don't see how that wouldn't.
Yeah.
So we'll get more. But I agree with you. It does suck that they're only fucking 10 episodes. I'm on. Last one I watched was 7, so I have like 3 more.
I need to watch them. Maybe I'll watch one after this. But
Even
yeah,
just the first episode alone is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Buddy was saying it was good, and Caleb said it was really good
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, if Caleb says something's really good,
Yeah.
like,
You never hear him talk about anything.
I got to check it out, man.
Yeah, I like it's weird because like I almost like it for the same reasons I like Last of Us. Like it stays true to what you love about that 70s show while introducing obviously much more new things, but like just a new dynamic.
I love it. I'm
It's
all
pretty
in.
great.
I'm all in.
It's pretty great, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't got anything else for this episode. Do you got
Yeah.
anything else for this episode?
No, it's a good episode.
All right, guys. Well, join us next week. This was episode number 43. So join us
Alright.
next week for episode number 44.
Fall.
And we'll come back right at you. Not going to spoil what we have next week because honestly, don't know what we're talking about next
I was
week.
about to
yet.
say, I was like, yeah, we're not going to spoil it.
But yeah, guys, you guys have a good rest of your day, night, afternoon, whatever it is, whatever you're doing. If you're a returning listener, thank you very much for listening to this point. If you were a first time listener, thank you for taking time out of your day to listen to us.
Yeah, and go watch Last of Us.
Go watch The Last of Us, and go listen to the rest of our episodes available on Spotify and Apple Music,
Yeah.
or not Apple Music, Apple Podcasts,
Apple Podcasts.
SoundCloud as well. Just look us up, 2
Boom.
Where two guys get too high and talk about too much TV.
Mm-hmm.
And we're out, motherfuckers.
Adios.
Peace. Well, let's hit a clap. Ready?
Oh, yo.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Woo.